Today it's difficult to imagine that nuclear bombs went off all the time in the 1960s, 70s and 80s. Imagine that over 2,000 nuclear bombs exploded in over 60 different locations all over the world, affecting people, animals and land everywhere. On islands in the Pacific, in the Arctic Ocean, in the Algerian desert, in inland Australia, in northwestern China, in southwestern the United States, in what is today Kazakhstan, up in the Arctic Ocean, everywhere on Earth. Yes, in the Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands, for example, the whole ecosystem has been completely changed. The flora and fauna look completely different now than it did before the testing, and people are not able to move back there due to the radioactivity. It was finally in 1996, with the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, that nuclear testing came to an end. But the treaty hasn't entered into force, which means that the door to nuclear testing remains open. And all this can come back to us if we don't close this door once and for all and put this legal instrument firmly in place, erecting a firm barrier to any further nuclear weapons development.
A lot to rob a soldier of his gift of gas.
So it is important because it preserves peace. Before you use a nuclear weapon, you have to test it to see whether it works or not. So this is the first step of preventing the use of nuclear weapons. And it's important to everybody, whether you're an African, a European, or a Latin American or Asian. As long as you are a human being on this earth, it is important.
Because the nuclear weapons are too many, in too many hands, and they might end up in the hands of terrorists. It's important to close the door to nuclear weapon developments. And the Test Ban Treaty is part and parcel of this program. It closes the door to new nuclear weapon states, and it closes the door for the existing ones. It's important that this goal has been stated, but it's even more important to act on it.
I believe that the treaty will enter into force. It's a matter of time. I think the decision by Indonesia, which is an Annex II state, to commence with the ratification process will create a momentum, not only in Asia, but I think in other parts of the world. So I'm an optimist, but we need to work hard. We need not stop until the treaty comes into force.
The Chari Mountains of Balochistan saw the predictable but tragic sequel to India's tests. As Pakistan set off its own nuclear devices, the mountain shook and turned white.
And every earthquake or explosion generates waves which travel through the crust and around the world, and we can record such waves with a seismometer like this one.
In 2006 and 2009 we detected 2 nuclear tests done by North Korea, and there are as far as 8,000 kilometers, but these stations are so sensitive that we get very good seismograms which identified these tests as real nuclear explosions, and for us became clear that these were not earthquakes.
It's not coming from one source, it's coming from dozens of countries. So this type of information cannot be challenged because it's an all-inclusive data gathering, all-inclusive data processing, and all-inclusive data distribution.
Data from infrasound and from seismic stations, and they come in over fiber optic cables, were converted here in electrical signals and sent to our central computer, and there we will put the data to Vienna over a satellite link and in parallel to Hanover over a leased line.
We monitor everything that's happening in the field with regard to our monitoring facilities. So it's basically the center where we check the health of the system.
There's an op center. As much as you can get in this.